Hello friends, this is Worm, and yes, that applies to everything. And today I wanted to talk about Checkmate and give kind of my thoughts and impressions on it, because it's been in the game for what, like a week now. I've been playing a pretty substantial amount of it, and I have some formulated opinions on it that I wanted to share with y'all and kind of get y'all's thoughts and opinions on as well. But before we do that, there are a lot of you who are not subscribed, so go down there, hit that sub button, and turn on the little bell so you get notifications, and let's talk about Checkmate. I like it. Okay, I'm going to start with that. Now, there are some specific things I like, and I have notes here on my phone of things I like and I dislike and stuff like that. But of course, I want to start by saying this is a mode that has a lot of potential, right? And I think that this is something that Bungie maybe should start focusing on more heavily, right? Yeah, let's talk about the things I like. Starting off with the first one here. Obviously, the primary gunfights are huge. Sorry, the room just got really, really dark. The primary gunfights are a major upside to this game mode, right? Like, I mean, from the second that you start in game, you are already getting into primary gunfights. You don't have to worry about special ammo, especially right at the start of the game. I guess later on, you can kind of have to start thinking about, okay, watch out for special, blah, blah, blah. But for the most part, primary dueling is present, and I love that. Like, I've always been a big fan of the ability to have primary gunfights, right? Because in a lot of situations, like, I know that my tools are better than the enemies and my aim is better than the enemies. But, when they're using a hand cannon and they can just instantly switch to a shotgun with a quick draw on it, it kind of negates the whole gunfight, right? And that's very frustrating. But of course, in this game mode, which you are seeing gameplay of, oh my god, I'm sorry, gameplay of currently, you don't have that. You don't have the ability to just switch to a shotgun, right? And I think that, we'll talk about special a little bit later, but I think that's a really, really good thing. I think that's a really fun aspect of it because you get to outduel people, right? And so that's the first and foremost thing that I want to talk about. But there's some other things in here that I definitely like. Let me look through here. Of course, I think the next big thing we got to talk about is the ability uptime, which is substantially lower, right? Grenades, melees, class abilities, like these have been dramatically reduced. And there are some things, like there's some aspects I feel like, hey, this is very appropriate. But there are others that, I'm kind of on the fence about. You're seeing in this gameplay that you're watching here, of course, I am using Imbra Benevolence and the Boots of the Assembler, and the Rift is coming back incredibly slow. Mind you, I am at max recovery, and it comes back very, very slow. Okay, so the ability cooldown reduction is very, very slow, and you can definitely feel that in game. And I kind of like it for the most part, right? Like, I really do. Yes, it does hamper some of my other builds. My Void Hunter build, which is probably what I would say is like my main PvP loadout, is hampered by this because it relies heavily on the melee and the class ability to turn invisible. But at the same time, I think that it's overall feels really good. Like, the gunfights you're getting in are 90% of the time guaranteed to be primary, just your skill versus the enemy's skill. And that's it, right? And we'll talk a little bit more about skill in just a second when we talk about weapons. But the next thing is the health pool that Guardians have. The overall health pool is increased. Now, I don't know if Guardian health is increased or if weapon damage is decreased, or maybe it's both. Actually, I think it's both, because you see Lumina here doing like 77 for a crits without Blessing of the Sky. This is really, really nice because it gives wiggle room for the precision to body shot ratio, right? And that also leads me to, gunfights where you're being outgunned, right? Because in a gunfight where you're being outgunned, right? Because not outgunned, but, outnumbered, right? Is 2v1. There is a lot more wiggle room when it comes to fighting those enemies. For example, I got in a gunfight earlier. I was actually on my Hunter, not on this. I was on my Hunter, walked around, or I was standing behind a wall. Two enemies came around the corner. One immediately backed up behind the cover, right? He was there. I shot his friend. I was able to hit, couple headshots, mixing with a couple body shots. He hit, I would say, probably mostly body shots, right? And then he was immediately, like, I guess, forced back to the corner, back behind the corner. Well, as soon as he went back, his little friend came out, to attack next. But again, the longer time to kill, or with the longer times to kill, like I didn't feel like I was in danger, right? I know my aim is very good. I know that if I can just throw off my enemy's aim by even a little bit, I will walk out of the gunfight alive. And yes, even on 300 round per minute sidearms, which we'll talk about weapon archetypes here shortly, but even on 300 round per minute sidearms, the time to kill is still very, very fast. 5 headshots for a kill, as opposed to 4 heads, 1 body, I guess technically, is like a 0.7 something time to kill, if I'm not mistaken, of course, which is still very competitive TTK. But yeah, like just the health pool in general is something that I'm very much enjoying. It gives you more wiggle room, like I said. But I also think the other thing with the health pool is like it gives you more wiggle room, but you can't just play bad. Like, it doesn't reward bad play. And that's kind of a huge balance factor that, Bungie has kind of struggled with throughout the years. I mean, look at the vanilla Destiny 2 weapon meta, double primaries, long TTKs, team shotting. And I kind of thought this game mode would be a lot of team shots, right? And death balling. And it is, and we'll talk about that in a second, but it's not to the level that I thought it was potentially going to be at, right? But yeah, I think that those are some of the things that, I like the most, again, the health pool being lower, the primary gunfights, like that is such a big deal, But yeah, also special ammo. Okay, now we said we'd talk about specials in just a second. The way that they've done special ammo in this game mode / modifier with Checkmate, mwah, I've got to give it to them. I absolutely love how they did this, right? Because you have to engage in fights and engage in winning the game to get special ammo. Like, you're rewarded for actually doing well, and you're rewarded for actually playing in a way that wins the game. Like, Bungie could have easily just said, you know what, we're going to throw a box, that'll spawn every 2 minutes, for example, that'll drop, 4 special ammo for whatever you're using, blah, blah, blah. But no, they instead they did it where, hey, like, as you get kills, you earn, points towards getting special ammo. You fill up this little bar on the side of the screen till you get special ammo, right? And then once you get it, you don't lose it. So there's not as much of a rush, I guess. I use snipers, obviously. There's not as much as a rush to like, oh, like, I got to get this kill. So, I'll just double body him, or I'll take a shot. I miss a shot, so I'm going to take another one. Like, no, there's more time for precision, because it's like, hey, like, if I die, I'm not going to lose my ammo, right? Like, I'm not going to lose it. Like, I'll keep it so you can save it for times when it's especially useful. For example, I could see a situation where if somebody's using conditional finality, they could save that special ammo to take out a super, right? Or something like that. Like, I really like how they have done that overall with the, how you obtain special ammo. And the best part is, if you're not that great at the game, you're not incredibly punished for not getting kills, right? If you are a relatively new player and you're stepping into the crucible, into the checkmate, game mode, and, as long as you're capping flags, you're still going to be getting that energy towards your special ammo, right? And one of the biggest issues I see currently with the standard game modes in Crucible is players who are very, very good do not care about the flags. It's like they're trying to, just get a lot of kills, which, I mean, play how you want, right? But I feel like this will incentivize people to play for the win and get kills, right? Because the players who are playing very, very good, they're great players and they're getting lots of kills. Pair that, getting all those kills with capping flags, you're going to get special ammo very quickly, and you're going to get it frequently in the game. But yeah, I think that's it for my likes. Let me look over this list real quick. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Now I want to go over some dislikes, because there are some things I don't like about this game mode. And I just want to throw in here, I think we should start off by bringing up the weapons that are causing problems, right? Starting off, Vex Mythoclast and bows in general, I've seen a lot of Luminarch and I've seen a lot of Wish Ender, right? I don't really know how Bungie can change these aside from making them 3 arrow kills, but if it takes 3 arrows to kill a Guardian, that is going to be insane. Like, that's going to be an insanely long TTK. Now, I actually use Luminarch. Luminarch, in my opinion, is one of the best weapons you can use in this game mode, because just like with hand cannons, how people like to peek shot, you can peek shot with a bow, but it will 2-hit kill, right? And so I think that bows have they're really, really strong here. They are really, really strong. I don't think that they're uncounterable by any means, but they're very, very strong. They almost avoid any nerf that happened to all the weapons, right? Like, you know, all these weapons, they deal more, less damage. You know, they have different tuning and stuff like that. Bows had their TTKs basically unchanged. Not basically, they had their TTKs unchanged. It is still 2 arrows to kill a guardian, which, you know, in this meta, that's very strong. Right, especially you get bows like, say, crafted, what's it called, the solar tyranny of heaven, crafted tyranny of heaven, and you go for max draw time, and you get that draw time down to, what is it, like 500, 460, 500, somewhere in there. Like, you are drawing that bow insanely fast. You can knock people before you can get 2 arrows off before a 140 round per minute hand cannon can kill you. Right, and that's kind of crazy to me. So bows are a little bit out of line. I think that another weapon that is out of line, or a weapon I should say that I've been seeing a lot and I did use and it does feel really strong, Vex Mythoclast. I think this is probably due to its exotic catalyst. Like, when you have the exotic catalyst, you get a kill, it ramps up your damage. But Vex Mythoclast feels incredibly strong in this meta. Not only that, but of course, you can get the ability to one-shot people with the linear fusion rifle mode, which, again, very strong. I've seen a lot of Vex Mythoclast being used in this game mode, and I tried it myself, and it does feel very, very strong. And then Fighting Lion also is kind of, I don't want to say it's problematic, but it is definitely noticeable, right? Fighting Lion being a grenade launcher that is primary ammo, so you have infinite Fighting Lion ammo. Now, of course, I believe the damage has been reduced on it, but it is still a phenomenal weapon for this game mode. I have not used it personally, but I've seen other people use it, and it's really, really oppressive, just like it is in regular modes. But in this mode, where, you know, team shooting is much more prevalent, where, you know, you have slower healing times, where you have just a whole different slower time to kills, like, this definitely elevates Fighting Lion up quite a bit. And when you're playing somebody with a Fighting Lion, especially if it's somebody who knows how to really use it, it feels oppressive. It feels like there's nothing you can do about it, because they can bank the grenades off the wall and hit you around corners. They force you to, like, back out of the way, right? And they're explosive too, so they don't have to hit you directly with it to deal that, you know, that level of damage. But of course, the last weapon that is problematic that I see, and it's not, I shouldn't say it's a weapon in specifically, but it is a weapon archetype, and that is 140 and 120 round per minute hand cannons, and particularly 140 round per minute hand cannons, right? What Bungie did when they introduced Checkmate, they basically made every single weapon in the game take longer to kill, with the exception of 120 scouts, 120 hand cannons, and 140 hand cannons. So they did not get a buff necessarily, but by proxy, they got a buff, right? Because they are now, you know, what was a pretty average time to kill in standard Crucible modes, and for 120s, a slow time to kill. Now, this is a fast time to kill, right? 140s are killing like the fastest killing weapons in this game mode, I think, aside from maybe bows, right? And it feels very oppressive. Like, if you want to be competitive, using a hand cannon, a 140 or a 120 is really the only way that you can stay competitive, like reasonably competitive against opponents in this game. And like, you will see, you know, in the gameplay and stuff, the mode is chock full of hand cannons. Like, that is what everybody is using. I don't use hand cannons very much, I'll be honest, but I don't have an issue with them. I do have an issue with everybody using the same loadouts and being just completely and utterly better. Like, that's one of the things I got to give Bungie praise for in the current sandbox meta. There are a variety of weapons that fill a variety of roles and that work very, very well, right? But you get into Checkmate and you have hand cannons that perform, you know, way up here. You can't even see the top of my head, but way up here, and everything else about like here, right? So I think that hand cannons, they need to be addressed. But let's talk about the other things that I dislike. I think that's the overall gunplay, and I'm sitting here watching my my screen here with so many primaries going on, like double primaries. Definitely, I think it is a strategy that you can, you know, utilize in this game mode pretty well, right? Because this is a double primary focused game mode, I think there's a lot of flinch and stuff going on, and this is another reason why hand cannons feel so strong, especially hand cannons with explosive payload. When you have longer time to kills, things like pulse rifles, things like, scout rifles. And I know that, you can sit back from safety with those, but when you're flinched off target, it feels very, very difficult to get kills, and especially in a game mode with long TTKs. Like, I think that flinch is okay. But when you're double flinching with explosive payload, time payload, stuff like that, like, it gets very, very disorienting. The amount of screen shake that's going on, like, it feels very cumbersome, I guess, when you're fighting against all these primary ammo weapons, and especially, like I said, these hand cannons that get explosive payload and stuff like that. Like, they feel like you can't win against them. And if you have played Checkmate, you'll know that fighting somebody with a rose with explosive payload is basically a death sentence, because they are not flinched the same way that you are flinched off target. And of course, every shot does count in Checkmate. But moving on from there, I think that another issue, and another thing I don't really like about Checkmate, is the special ammo. Like, not the special ammo system. I like the special ammo system, but when does special ammo come up for players, right? There's not a way to read who has special ammo. There's not a way for people to say, hey, these people have, it's now special time. For example, the thing we talked about earlier, a special ammo crate just spawning on the map every minute and a half, 2 minutes, something like that. At least if that happened, you would know that everybody on the enemy team has the potential to have special ammo. But in this game mode, especially once you get, kind of into the match, you don't know who's going to have special and who's not going to have special. And I think a very easy fix for this is when somebody has special ammo, regardless of whether it's, grenade launcher, shotgun, fusion, sniper, have a little green special icon right next to their name. That way you can see, hey, this person has special ammo available to them, right? And this is something that, like, I know this is kind of debatable, because, like, well, that's part of the whole thing is, if you're not using special, or like if you're using a special weapon, you don't want people to know about it, blah blah blah. I don't know. I feel like that's leads to passive play, and we'll talk about passive play too next. But it feels like there should be some notion of who has special and who doesn't, right? And I think just giving a little green icon next to an enemy's name, so, hey, okay, they have special ammo, I know that, so now I can play around. Well, I don't know what it is. I guess theoretically you could go and inspect them, in the character screen and see what they're using, but it just gives you an idea of, okay, like, this person's going really deep, I see they have special, I need to watch out for maybe a sniper back there. Hey, this person is running at me really, really aggressively, and they have special, I bet it's going to be a shotgun, right? I think that would be a good thing that Bungie could potentially fit in there, and I don't think that would cause any problems, right? But yeah, I think that's it for kind of the dislikes here. Trying to think if there's any more. I think that's it. I think and the last thing here, and we talked about hand cannons being strong because they haven't been or because they've been changed a lot. There are some archetypes of weapon that have they substantially struggle now. For example, you see here I'm using Trustee, a 260 scout. 260 scouts, they struggle very, very much so in this sandbox. 260 scouts, of course, even in the base sandbox, 0.9, I think they have a 0.93 second TTK, which is faster than a 120. There's that, but your forgiveness is much, much lower, right? And so I think that, there are some weapons that struggle heavily. 300 round per minute sidearms, they're definitely struggling. Your crit ratio for those has to be a little bit different. The range drop off really hurts, like really, really hurts some of these weapons. So, I think there are some weapons. I think Bungie should just analyze their data and see what is underperforming, right? Just see, hey, okay, 260 scouts, for example, these are underperforming. What can we do to bring them up, but not make them too good, right? Like, we don't want to make them too good, but we want to make them better. But moving on, I want to talk about the ability economy. I think that's abilities, they feel really, really good in this meta, right? Like, you're not constantly being bombarded with grenades and melees and shoulder charges and stuff like that. Like you definitely notice that there are less of these present, and I really like that feel. Like, again, it brings out the gunplay aspect. No longer can a Titan rely on a shoulder charge shotgun combo to get a kill. Like now, yeah, they can use their shoulder charge, but once they use it, it's gone for like, for like a minute and a half or something. I don't know exactly what the cooldown is, but it's gone for a long time, so you don't have to worry about it. So it makes players, okay, like I got to think smarter about my ability usage, right? As a hunter, as an invis hunter, I've got to think, okay, like, I've got my dodge, I've got my melee. I need to be smart about how I'm going to utilize these, right? Because you don't want to just blow all of your abilities out at once, unless you're using a weapon with sated hunger. By the way, if you're using a weapon with sated hunger, it's fantastic in Checkmate because your abilities are pretty much gone all the time. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I think that it's very, very good in some ways, but I think that also there are some struggles. Like, again, like for example, the invis build that I'm using here, I wouldn't say it's broken or busted or OP by any means, but there is the issue of, hey, I don't have it available. Like, yes, I do have to, have primary gunfights. I think that basically what I'm trying to say, there are certain builds that are very, very limited in this game mode, right? And I think that builds that are focused on more just straight up gunplay are going to succeed more, and passive exotics, for example, transversive steps, dune marchers, stompies, things like these are going to see a lot more usage in this playlist. But does that mean that passive exotics, or I guess neutral game exotics, are the king and the say all be all? Well, obviously my initial thought on that is yes. Like obviously, dune marchers, stompies, frosties, things like this are much, much better, right? Because like obviously you don't have your abilities to use as much, you're not getting ability kills as much, but at the same time, started thinking about it, and like take for example, I don't know, like a wormhusk crown using hunter. Now, when you dodge and you expend that ability to get that boost to your health, that is going to play a huge role in the rest of the gunfight. Like that's already a big deal in the rest of the gunfight, right? Like what is it? Renewal grasps, right? Renewal grasps. You can throw Sorry, I heard a sound coming out there. My wife's watching my kid. You can throw a grenade down. You get the resistance. Blah blah blah. That has been made much stronger in this game mode, right? Let me just restart this real quick. That has been made much, much stronger in this game mode because now, like, that resistance that you get, the ×2 resistance for being in a dusk field, is almost a guaranteed way to win the gunfight because time to kills are longer, So it's a guaranteed way to win a gunfight. Wormhusk, same thing. Wormhusk now, it's a guaranteed win on a gunfight just by dodging. And yeah, like I think that's a good thing. Like this is one of the good things that Bungie has done, is like these abilities that are these exotics that are ability focused. They definitely feel like they have been made stronger and better now because of the fact that abilities, they're not, the abilities themselves aren't stronger, but the benefits that you can get from some of these will make you so much stronger. And with the increase of time to kill, I think that you're definitely going to see people using some builds, using some things like renewal grasps, for example, and you won't want to challenge somebody with renewal grasps because they got that resistance. Like they are going to kill you, right? I don't know. I think that it was an interesting concept I wanted to talk about. Also, there's a big a big thing here. Weapons that heal you are going to be very, very good. Okay, like you're seeing in the background here, and this is just a repeat of what you saw at the start of the video. Using Lumina is very strong in this game mode, right? With longer time to kills, any health regeneration that you get going on your character or on another person that's injured is very, very strong. Because I mean, think about it. I was standing in a rift, for example. I'm standing in a rift. I'm getting shot at. I'm healing. That's already difficult to contend with, right? But when the time to kills are longer and I can shoot back, like, any type of healing is going to be very good. Okay, Rat King. I use Rat King religiously. Is a phenomenal exotic in this game mode, right? You get the health regen when you reload, you get invis when you reload, and if you're critically wounded and you have Echo of Vigilance on, you get an overshield. Like this is the dream this is a dream come true for me and other Rat King users, right? Because Rat King has now become potentially one of the best 1v, or not 1v1, one of the best weapons in this game mode to take on multiple groups of people. And I would argue that Rat King already was, right? Same thing with Red Death, but to a lesser degree, because Rat King, you can turn invisible as well. But you can now, like, there was a clip, unfortunately, I was not while I was recording, but I was on my Hunter using Rat King. I got a 4-piece, all of them on top of each other, right? Like, they were literally like all there, they're attacking me at once, but the time to kills are slower, right? The time to kills are slower. So when you get a kill with Rat King, they take longer to kill you, but your health comes back that same speed, right? Graviton Forfeit, it's like a, what is it, tier 9.5 recovery time. You get one kill, my health is already back up. Get another kill, get a reload, health is already back up. And the longer times the kills give you more wiggle room to, get into a situation where you can be safe, right? Rat King, you get a kill. Okay, I'm going to get around this corner, then I'm going to reload, start the health regeneration. By the time they get around the corner, I'm not at full health, but I'm high enough health that I can now engage the gunfight. And as long as I can hit my crits, I'm going to win again, reload. And that's what happens. So I think that, Rat King obviously is very good, but any gun that can heal you, right? Crimson is going to be fantastic. Red Death, when it comes in final shape, going to be fantastic. What other guns can heal you? I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah, weapons that can heal, definitely very, very strong. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of my overall thoughts on it. Like I said, it's got a lot of potential. I don't see myself playing this like all the time in its current state. And the main reason, I would say the main fun factor, or the main pothole to my fun factor within the game, right, is the 140s and the 120 round per minute hand cannons. Like, they just feel like they outclass everything so much, right? And I don't know how Bungie's going to tune those, because obviously making a 120 take four shots to kill, nobody's going to use 120s. Same thing with a 140. Making a 140 take 4 shots to kill, nobody's going to use 140. So I don't really know how Bungie could change, fix that. But I would say that, the balance aspect is definitely there. Everything, all the other, dislikes that I had, I don't think these ruin the game mode for me. I think they're like potholes, right, in my ability to have fun. Like, I'm having fun. Oh, damn, this dude, he did, he had special and I didn't know it. Like, that's not fun, but it's not gonna like ruin the whole game. I'm not gonna let it ruin the whole game, right? So yeah, that's my overall thoughts and opinions on Checkmate. I think it's got a lot of potential. I hope Bungie focuses on it, and they maybe not make it a permanent like game mode, because I think that also at the end of the day, Destiny is still a as one of y'all put it in the comments, it's a junk food of a multiplayer system, right? Like, it's junk food because it's just do what you want, have fun, right? It's not like Call of Duty where you got to take it super seriously, and everything has a time to kill that's the same, and everybody's boots on the ground. Like, you've got all different abilities, super stuff like that. Like, it's the junk food of video games. I'm sorry, I know one of y'all said that in my comments the other day, and I don't remember who it was. I'm so sorry. Otherwise I would give credit, but yeah, it's the junk food of games. Checkmate makes it a little bit more serious. I could see this maybe becoming a trials meta, but I don't think it would be great to have in just like just general 6v6, right? Because or if they do have it be a rotating playlist, unless they can get it perfected, which it's very close. It's very close to being perfected, but it's not quite there yet. But yeah, anyways, God, this video has been long. Let me know your thoughts on Checkmate. Do you like it? Do you not like it? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? And how do you feel about my thoughts on it? Leave all those comments down there below. Of course, drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more daily Destiny content and conversations and debates and stuff like that over here on the channel. And yeah, do me a favor, watch the videos you see on the end screen, because for whatever reason, YouTube thinks you'll like it. Bye for now.